Sam Cleary lives in a rundown apartment building with his mother Tiffany, and they are broke. So broke Tiffany has to borrow money from Sam just to get to work. Sam is fascinated with the superhero Samaritan, who once gave his life to save the city. Basically, many years ago, two brothers were born with insane strength, but after their mother was murdered, one became the hero Samaritan, while the other named himself Nemesis, taking out his rage on the city. The two ended up clashing constantly, but after Nemesis created a hammer using his power, they had an epic showdown and were presumed killed in a fire. Sam has a neighbor, an old man named Joe who works as a garbage collector. Joe stays to himself, finding peace in fixing old broken things. Maybe it reminds him of himself. The two basically have little to no interaction whatsoever, both locked away in their own worlds. That is until Sam gets himself into some trouble. So Sam comes home one day to see an eviction notice on the door, so he heads to the park to hang out until Tiffany arrives. His friend Jace sees him there and offers to help him make some cash. Jace is annoying as he always calls Sam Squirt, so he initially refuses, but Sam, wanting to help Tiffany out with some cash, he decides to tag along. Jace's idea of making cash is having Sam break into old buildings and removing the copper wires from the walls, which he sells to a junkyard under the control of a crime boss named Cyrus. The heist is successful, but the payout sucks as they only made $40 for their audition for a prison cell.
Man, put a 1 in front of that 40. You high?
At the junkyard, little gangster Reza and his thugs approach them with an offer. They want someone to cause a distraction outside a store, promising easy bread. Jace pulls out, but Sam volunteers as tribute. He wants the cash but wants more to prove himself.
Yeah, I'm in.
Little criminal Sam then pretends to be injured,
Help! Help, please!
distracting the storekeeper while Reza steals some boxes marked lottery tickets. They hand it over to Cyrus's guys, but the boxes are filled with chips. Reza blames Sam, and the two have a fight until Cyrus himself steps out to break them up. He likes Sam, not in the weird kind of way, but Sam reminds him of his younger self, always the underdog. Cyrus sees the drawings in his notebook of Samaritan. People like him because he is good, but Cyrus is a fan of Nemesis, showing a tattoo of the villain's logo. To him and his folks, Nemesis was a god, as he dished out pain to the proud and wealthy, while Samaritan just protected the rich. He then hands Sam two $100 bills, one for what he did today, and the other for what he will do in the future. The cash though ends up saving the day, allowing Sam and Tiffany to get back into the apartment, though Sam lies about where he got it from. Cyrus and his crew get their hands on some military-grade explosives for an upcoming job. The next day Sam runs into Reza and his crew, who want to kick his ass for embarrassing him. They chase him into an abandoned lot, ganging up on him until Joe tosses them aside easily, too easily. Reza pulls a blade, but Joe grabs and twists it with his bare hands. Sam is convinced he just saw the Samaritan, picking up the twisted knife. He rushes home, and through his window he sees Joe's burnt back, even more evidence to support his theory. Joe is actually the Samaritan. Cyrus and his crew put on cop uniforms, driving in an armored police truck for their heist. Their target turns out to be a police evidence storage facility. After taking out the lone cop on duty, they hit the vaults, but Cyrus isn't interested in money, he wants power. In one container he finds the masks of both Samaritan and Nemesis, and in the other, his true target, Nemesis' hammer, which he plans to use to finish what the villain could not. Sam visits Al, a Samaritan fanatic that runs a bookstore, who is tired of hearing his theories about who Samaritan is. He has heard about the janitor at his school, the mailman who outran the bulldog, and suspects this garbage man isn't much different. But Sam is certain he has the right one and offers to buy his book if he just hears him out. The two talk about Nemesis and Samaritan, where Al shows Sam a photo of Nemesis' hammer, the only thing able to hurt either brother. He still doesn't believe Sam's garbage man theory, even after Sam shows him the twisted knife, so Sam leaves disappointed. Still determined to get answers though, Sam waits until Joe leaves his apartment before honing his criminal skills and breaking in. He searches around before stumbling upon a folder filled with articles about the Samaritan, more evidence for his case. Meanwhile, Reza is getting chewed out by Cyrus's goon inside a car for making a fool of himself, when he spots Joe crossing the road, and they follow him back to his apartment. When Joe gets in, he instantly knows someone has been inside his apartment and goes to confront Sam.
Your kid took something valuable of mine.
Sam hands it over, and Tiffany makes him apologize for stealing. She asks Joe not to call the cops, telling him Sam is a good kid who's just been lost since his father died. Joe doesn't plan to, reminding Sam that he's lucky to have such a good mother. Later, Sam and Joe run into each other. Sam confesses that he thought Joe was the Samaritan, but Joe claims he's nothing more than a garbage man, and the articles he kept because he is a fan just like Sam. Sam doesn't believe him,
I don't believe you!
but as Joe begins to cross the road, he is hit by Reza and the goons, flipping multiple times before crashing into the pavement. They speed away thinking he is dead. Sam starts to cry, but instead of dying like a garbage man, Joe wakes, and his broken bones begin to heal themselves, steam pouring from his body. Sam is elated seeing this, now convinced Joe is the Samaritan. Joe starts to overheat, so they go back to his apartment where he uses the shower to cool down, his body releasing thick steam. Afterwards, he eats ice cream, explaining that when he gets injured his body overheats, which could cause his heart to explode. He still denies being the Samaritan.
I found Samaritan!
Wrong.
But nothing can change Sam's mind, and he recalls how the Samaritan saved his father. Cyrus and his gang set off an explosion downtown, which draws a crowd. He then puts on the Nemesis mask, and wielding the hammer, he announces himself as Nemesis. He plans to start a revolution, taking power from the rich and giving it to the poor, calling on the residents to join him and rise up. The residents, enticed by his offer of riches and power, all begin to cheer his name. That night, Joe has a dream of the fight between Nemesis and Samaritan, jumping awake covered in sweat. News of heavy looting soon begins to hit the news. Sam again runs into Joe, who is on his way to a pawn shop. Sam wonders what he even does all day, being cooped up in his apartment. But Joe calls himself a troglodyte, a caveman. He loves being alone as people depress him. At the pawn shop, a guy bumps into Joe who almost loses it, but decides to let it go to the disappointment of Sam. On their way back, they pass Nemesis's followers looting, and Joe blames the city for relying on a superhero to save them. Sam continues hounding him with questions about his abilities, though Joe notes that his powers have weakened with age. Sam eventually confesses that he gets scared a lot, and when it's time to fight, he always thinks about running away. Joe thinks that's a good thing, calling street fighting a thing for fools. Joe then notices his broken watch and offers to fix it for him. The news finally reveals that Nemesis has made a return and is behind the current wave of crime, and Joe gets really pissed hearing this. He heads out to work and runs into Sam, who begs him to teach him how to fight, so Joe relents and they plan to meet on the roof after work. Later, Sam shows off his shadow boxing skills, but they're no use as he is too scared to throw a solid punch, even at Joe's hand. He thinks he's a coward, but Joe thinks he's lucky as he was raised right. But if he has no choice but to fight, Joe tells him to throw a sucker punch and run. He tries throwing a sucker punch at Joe and ends up almost breaking his hand, so they head back to Joe's apartment to tend to his bruise. There, Joe confirms he likes working on broken things because it helps him relax. It's easy to break something, but having the patience to fix it is something else. Sam thinks it's a good thing Nemesis is gone as he started the fire at the power plant to throw the city into chaos. Joe has memories of the night of the fight, but Sam's words anger him, and he sends him off. On his way home, Sam runs into Cyrus, who has a job for him to earn that second 100, so Sam agrees. The job is simple. He wants Joe to stand outside the junkyard and whistle if he sees cops, which Sam fails to do when a squad car pulls up, but luckily these cops are on Cyrus's payroll. Later, Sam is keeping watch when Cyrus and his men return to the junkyard, dragging a beaten man from the trunk of a car, and Sam can't help but check out what's going on. The man turns out to be a cop who Cyrus paid off, but refused to allow them to plant bombs at the power station. Cyrus's girl Syl threatens the cop with a flamethrower, so he promises not to tell a soul and to leave the city. Cyrus agrees and releases him, but shoots him in the back and his body falls right at Sam's hiding spot. He is leaving when he runs into Reza and his thugs ganging up on Jace. Sam yells at them to stop, but Reza tells him to pick a side. Sam decides to defend Jace, allowing him to escape, but the thugs hold Sam down and Reza hits his hand with a wrench. Sam passes out from the pain, and Reza and his thugs push him back to his apartment in a shopping cart. Joe spots them, and they take off running. Joe brings Sam to the hospital, and Tiffany doesn't think he's much of a hero as he couldn't stop a few bullies. Meanwhile, Syl leads Cyrus's guys to break into the power station and plant explosives. At the junkyard, Reza reveals the old man they hid is still alive. That should be impossible as their car is wrecked, so Cyrus insists on meeting this old man. His guys find Joe and start following him, but Joe senses the danger. He enters an alley, finally confronting the thugs there. Joe isn't going anywhere with them, so the men try using force. They attack, but Joe quickly overpowers them. Even tanking point-blank gunfire. The last guy he sends flying out onto the street, and this causes a scene. A small girl who saw everything excitedly comes over to Joe, but just then one surviving gangster tosses a grenade, forcing Joe to grab the girl and use a car to shield them from the blast. The cops turn up, so Joe gets out of there. Later he sees news footage of his heroic act, but is prepared to leave the city fearing his identity will be revealed. People now assuming he is the Samaritan.
That man saved my life.
Sam gets released from the hospital and comes right over. He tries to warn Joe that Cyrus is planning something at the power station, but Joe just tells him to call the cops. Sam reminds him he's a hero, and he helps people, calling him just like everybody else. The guy that survived gets back to the junkyard and shows Cyrus news reports of Samaritan's return. This means he may come looking for Nemesis, so Cyrus grabs the hammer prepared to fight. He and the gang soon arrive at the apartment building armed, and Reza leads them to Joe's apartment. Sam sees them enter and manages to slip past them before racing back to his apartment, trying to warn Tiffany they must leave. The gangsters enter Joe's apartment and rip it to shreds with bullets. Cyrus then spots Sam and Tiffany from the window. The men rush over, but Tiffany and Sam manage to slip into the elevator. They get to the roof, but their Syl corners them. They end up surrounded, but Tiffany refuses to leave Sam's side until she is dragged away and knocked unconscious. Sam loses it, angrily punching the lights out of Reza.
Oh, who's the bitch?
Sam warns Cyrus that Samaritan will come for him, but that's what he's hoping for. Joe is at the bus stop, ready to leave the city, when he notices he still has Sam's watch he offered to fix. He goes to the apartment, only to find Tiffany there injured, muttering that Cyrus took Sam. Determined to get the boy back, Joe loads a garbage truck filled with oil drums before racing towards the junkyard. Cyrus and the gang are planning to blow the power station tonight, men all over the city ready to start chaos. Some gangsters are guarding out front when they spot the garbage truck racing towards them. They riddle it with bullets, but Joe breaks through and crashes through the building walls. Joe then steps out, bullets ricocheting off his body, using everything around him as a weapon to take out the gangsters. He gets surrounded, but his only concern is Sam. Cyrus brings him out. He thinks he stands a chance against Joe, stepping up to him, but Joe warns him to release Sam. Cyrus refuses. He wants Sam and everybody else to watch the great Samaritan fall before him. Suddenly he clocks Joe over the head with the hammer. Joe tries to stand, but Cyrus sends him flying with a powerful blow. All this time, Joe is having visions of the forging of the hammer and the fight many years ago, but when Cyrus tells him to suffer like Nemesis did, Joe loses it, grabbing the hammer barehanded. Cyrus and everybody else think he's the good guy and he's tired of it, as it's revealed that Joe is actually Nemesis the villain. Just then an explosive Joe had planted in the truck explodes, decimating the entire warehouse. Cyrus orders the surviving men to open fire on Joe, pinning him down. Cyrus grabs Sam and escapes, losing it after Syl was killed in the explosion.
Syl!
Joe starts taking out the gangsters with extreme prejudice. Wielding his hammer with his super strength. He gets surrounded, but causes the entire ceiling to collapse. Meanwhile, Cyrus has Sam tied up as he knows Joe is on his way. The gangsters try to run away from Joe, but it's no use, and he takes them out inside an elevator.
Going my way!
Cyrus puts on the Nemesis mask, then has his guys blow the power station, which kicks off the rioting downtown. Joe continues to mow down the men with the warehouse now in flames. The last gangster, the same one that tossed the grenade at him, pulls out another, but Joe impales him with it, leaving him to explode. Sam cries out for help as the flames begin to surround him, and right on cue, Joe comes staggering in, weary from his long fight, and drops the hammer. Cyrus picks it up and attacks him, sending him flying across the room. Joe's body begins to steam, and his heart begins to hurt. Cyrus calls him old, and
You should have stayed buried, old man!
plans to carry out the plan he failed years ago. Joe reveals there was no plan. The fire was a trap for Samaritan, but Cyrus doesn't believe him. Cyrus knocks him around until Joe is left hanging over a burning hole in the floor. Cyrus comes to finish the job, but Sam can't stand by any longer. He yanks out the metal pipe holding him and attacks Cyrus. But this allows Joe to grab him, using his immense strength to bend the hammer around him. Cyrus begs for his life, but Joe throws him over the edge. It's then revealed that all those years ago, Samaritan actually slipped during their fight, and Joe tried to save him, but failed. This was the moment he decided to stop being Nemesis. Joe's body then begins to overheat. Sam breaks a nearby pipe, flooding water onto him, but Joe passes out. Sam begs him to fight, refusing to leave his side, and soon Joe comes awake and thanks him. The building starts to collapse, so Joe lifts Sam into his arms and launches himself from the building, landing in another across the street. Joe confirms that he is Nemesis, but Sam believes he can change. Joe thinks it might be too late for him, but Sam still has a chance to choose good. Joe disappears before Sam is rescued. Outside, reporters ask him to tell them who saved him, and Sam confirms that it was Samaritan who saved him. Close by, Joe gives him a nod of approval before disappearing back into the shadows. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time, go ahead and hit that like button, drop a comment, and of course, subscribe for more recaps just like this. And hey, don't click away just yet. YouTube thinks you'll love one of these 2 videos popping up right here, so check them out next.